Well, hey, it's good to see you again. My name is Jaded Ben, and welcome back to this YouTube channel of mine, where John and I have tapes of their voices.
Look at me, you flesh-wearing idiot. I'm filthy fucking rich.
Well, good for you, dude. Seriously, look at that. Look at that money. Don't let that go to your little head, you fucking egomaniac. Anyways, so in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 10 most expensive cassette tapes in my collection. But before we do so, we're going to start by what is playing in my tape deck just right over here today. That is going to be Riding of Earth and Flesh, released in 2022 on Everlasting Spew Records. These guys are one of the premier bands going right now in the Australian death metal scene. I believe these guys are out of Melbourne, if I'm not mistaken, but this was released in 2022. This is the band's debut full-length album. They came off of a really, really good EP in 2020, and I've slowly been getting back into these guys. I still need to pick up a vinyl copy of this one of these days, but if you like some old school death metal, seriously, highly recommend checking this release out. It's super fucking heavy, but definitely not in my top 10, though I highly recommend grabbing it, because their riffs are really fucking good. Okay, anyways, we're going to start with some groundwork first. We're going off the Discogs median value from least expensive to most expensive. Of course, I'm also going to give you the highest that these have ever sold for, at least that I could find, and also what I paid for them, if I can remember that. So without further ado, we're going to start with number 10, and that is going to be Spider God with Black Renditions, released in 2022 on Repose Records. This particular edition is the very first pressing that was done. I picked this up in a bundle, which will affect the price, but we'll see here in just a minute. It comes with this really cool outer O card edition. It's such a really, really nice release. In case y'all aren't familiar with Spider God, this is his sort of pop covers release. It comes on this black tape, very, very retro vibes, and I love the track listing on this because, again, it looks like a hand-done cassette, though I can assure you these were done professionally. This particular tape goes for a median price of $16.16 as of recording this. The highest it is sold for is $30.85. And I told you I picked this up in a bundle along with a couple of other Spider God tapes, including some I will probably show off in the future. But judging by the general price of each item and how many there were in the bundle, I paid $15.33 for this. So right about spot on average, though I have seen this kind of go, again, about that median price. I've seen the second pressing go a little bit cheaper, so not super expensive, but, you know, seriously, with the amount of mileage I've gotten out of this tape, definitely worth grabbing, and I feel like it's a worthy number 10. Number 9, and this is funny because this ties back into another series I do called Bootleg Breakdown. And it's funny that this one is, I believe, a bootleg, and that is going to be Nunslaughter, The Guts of Christ, released in, I believe, 1995, independently, and then later redone. I believe this was I don't remember the name of this. I'll put the link of the label on the video screen there, but I picked this up in 2023 at a show at Paper Tiger from a gentleman known as No Mames Distro. He mentioned that a friend of his ended up redoing these. It comes on this red tape right there. There you go. I'm not meaning to flip you off, but it's got very basic DIY construction. I don't know if these were licensed or not, so again, I'm kind of thinking that this is at least a partial bootleg to a degree. Anyways, drop my paper. The median price for this guy is $17.99. The highest it has ever sold for is $22. I don't remember exactly what I paid for this. I want to say it was in the ballpark of about $15. I paid through PayPal with a couple other items, so I could not tell you the exact price, but I definitely don't remember it being that high, all things considered. If you can find this, go out of your way and get it. It was reissued in 2020, again, by the label on the screen here. Definitely really good quality, all things considered, and such an interesting item to own. I very much love Nunslaughter. We've seen him twice. This covers a very early base point in the band's career, so definitely a nice thing to have in the collection overall. Number 8 is going to be a very, very fun live tape, Holder, Benighted in Blood, released in 2022, independently on Bandcamp. There were multiple pressings of this one. Mine is the very first press on white tape. I remember this tape selling out in a matter of just minutes. Like, seriously, I think it's one of the fastest things I've ever attempted to purchase. This was the band's show in Baltimore, Maryland on April 16th of 2022. And yeah, super, super cool layout. Mine, of course, is numbered 66 of 80. Again, sold out in a matter of minutes, so, but you're thinking, man, this is worth a pretty penny and a half. In comparison to most of my tapes, yes, as a matter of fact. The median asking price for this particular version is $19.99, with the highest it has ever sold for being $52.08. I paid $10 US even on the day it came out. So, such an awesome tape. I actually picked up the second tape that was split with, I believe it was Winds of Sorrow, off the top of my head. Either way, love Holder, seen her once before, and definitely a really good quality tape. I'm very happy to have this in my collection. There were two other versions on different colored J-card paper, but this being the OG makes it such an awesome release. Holder, Benighted in Blood, coming in at number 8. Alright, number 7 is a fun band here in the Texas scene. And that is going to be the 2014 debut from Church of Disgust, entitled Unworldly Summoning, released, I don't remember what label this was on either. I'm going to leave that on the screen here. I picked this up at a record store, but I did make the purchase online. I just went ahead and picked it up in store. This particular version is just a standard label-less silver cassette. It was limited to 50 copies. This also came with the band logo on a sticker. This band has gotten definitely a lot more notoriety, especially in the Texas scene, over the last couple of years. Their last album was dropped on Hell's Headbangers Records. It is easily one of my favorite death metal records in the Texas scene by a long shot. The funny thing about this is that this was supposed to be numbered of 50, except it's not. So, strange. I think there were purple tapes for this one as well, but again, such a oddball thing to find. This went for $20 median, $20 highest, and again, I paid $20 for it. I bought it on Discogs. I was the only person to buy it on Discogs, but I went and picked it up in store just to save on the shipping costs, because I think they wanted like $5 or $6 to ship this to me. I was like, you know what? I'm in the area. I might as well go pick it up. So, Church of Disgust, Unworldly Summoning, coming in at number 7. Number 6 kind of follows the same thing as Holder, with a tape that sold out relatively fast. Tomb Mold, Aperture of Body, released in 2022. Independently, though was redone on vinyl on 20 Buck Spin Records. This particular tape is the third and final pressing done by Tomb Mold themselves. This features the band kind of pre-moving into that new cycle on the Enduring Spirit, but also definitely capturing the essence of Planetary Clairvoyance in the midway. It's just on a standard clear edition cassette. I do not remember if they specified how many copies of this existed, but it's on this awesome orange paper. I know there was a white version. I think that was the second pressing, and then the orange was the first and third pressings. I can confirm as much that this is the third and final cassette pressing that was done here. I remember this selling out in about 3 minutes, top of my head. I picked this up on Bandcamp. The median that this is sold for is $28. The highest this guy is sold for is $50. And I paid $7.99. right when it came out. So definitely happy that I didn't have to pay the Discogs scalper prices for this guy in particular. It is such an awesome release. I'm glad 20 Bucks Spin did it on vinyl too, but it's even cooler to have this guy in my collection. Two Mold Aperture Body coming in at number 6. Final 5 time. Number 5 is going to be another release from 2022, Sanguisugabog with The Devil's Eyes, released in 2022 independently. This particular release was the band live in the studio. This features the very first documented performance of the song Necrosexual Deviant, which would go on to be on the band's second album, but also features a bunch of tracks off of the band's first EP, as well as their debut album. There were multiple pressings of this one. Mine is the second edition on white shells. There was a red shell first version, and I think there was a red shell third version, but I have the white shell second version. I did a reel on this that was posted on my YouTube channel, so if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. That was one of my favorite things to film, but this was seriously an awesome thing to find. I have seen Sanguisugabog only once, and that was in 2024, and I don't believe they had tapes of this available at the show. I picked this up through the band's web store after a tour, I believe in 2023, off the top of my head. Anyways, the price for this, median $29, the highest $50, and the highest, or actually what I paid for it, $10.99. Seriously, awesome live tape. Very happy to have this in my collection. I'm a Sanguisugabog collector, so I'm starting to finally go through and get a bunch of these things. This was a big one that I really, really wanted. I picked this up before the second album came out, so this was my only way of listening to Necrosexual Deviant besides watching the video on YouTube. But still, absolutely fucking awesome tape coming in at the number 5 spot. We're going to kind of keep into that same death metal sphere going into the number 4 spot, and that is going to be Molesting the Decapitated by Devourment, released in 1999, but redone in 2020 on Corpse Gristle Records. I have the green version. There were multiple different colored versions of these. They were all numbered. Mine is numbered 131 out of 138. I picked this up actually not too long ago. There was a restock on Corpse Gristle. Comes in on these awesome green transparent shells and green inner J card, which looks super, super awesome, all things considered. Just an absolute classic of an album, and I'm very glad I was able to find one of these. I picked this up not too long ago, and it's such an awesome addition to my Texas death metal collection, all things considered. The median asking price for this on Discogs is $29.99. The highest it's ever gone for is $35, and I paid $19.99 for this tape. So, right about in that sort of mid ballpark range. Definitely not $30, definitely not $35, but probably not the cheapest it's gone for either. So, either way, still very, very happy to have this in my collection. Devourment, Molesting the Decapitated from Corpse Gristle Records. Coming in at number 3, released also in 2022. You're going to see a lot of these 2022 releases. Poison Ruin with Tour 2022, released in 2022 independently. This particular version features a live tape as well as some demos, and I believe a small little semi-interview kind of thing going on. Anyways, Poison Ruin is one of my favorite punk rock groups going right now. This is on just a standard white tape, label on one side, no label on the other side. And this is just an interesting little thing to have. There's nothing on the inside of the J card, but the layout on it is just super, super cool. Again, with a lot of bands, is I find once I get hooked on a band, I'm usually trying to go through and find as many collectible items that don't exist on any other format. This was a good example of that. I think this was done to fundraise another tour, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, maybe I'll put it on the screen if I can find what exactly it was for, but either way, just such a cool item to have. We saw them very recently. I forgot to bring this guy with me, but I will bring it next time and get it signed, hopefully, and we'll bring the value up even higher. Speaking of value, the median price for it is $30 even. The highest it has ever sold for is $32.63, and I paid only $19 for this particular tape. Just an awesome bargain for me as a Poison Ruin super fan. This tape is awesome. And still going for a decent price. I think it's selling for just under that median price now, if I'm not mistaken. But Poison Ruin Tour 2022, released independently, and coming in at the number 3 spot. Alright. Number 2. This one is going to be a fun little oddball thing if you are into hardcore. I'm talking about God's Hate, released. This is God's Hate live at Sound and Fury, released in 2024 on Criminalized Records. This audio was done by one of my favorite media YouTube channels that shows off live shows. That is 197 Media, who's kind of gotten me into doing what I do now with my live tapes. This particular thing was done as a fundraiser for the Midnight Hour in San Bernardino, California. San Fernando, California. I'm sorry. But it is on just a standard black label-less tape. My particular version has suffered a slight bit of damage in the mail, but it's fine. I'm going to order some more shell tapes for it. Anyways, these dudes are just absolutely pummeling live. I'm kind of upset I missed them at Not So Fun Weekend, but just an awesome way to still get the chance to, be in the same room as a God's Hate live performance. I believe these particular tapes were limited to 50 copies, and this was a one-time pressing. The median it is sold for is $40. The highest it is sold for is $40. I paid $10 for this guy right when it came out. I love supporting little smaller scenes, especially scenes of bands that I am fans of. This is a good example of that. I'm glad to get this for a decent price because I know these tapes are in high demand right now. So, God's Hate, live at Sound and Fury 2023, released on Criminalized Records, coming in at the number 2 spot. And finally, the number 1 entry is Spider God, Black Extensions, released in 2022 independently. This, I know what you're thinking, how can this be super rare? There was a small little tape run and there was a vinyl run. What makes this one so special? This is the first press. Number 8 of 10. And I know what you're thinking. Ben, that's not that bad. What makes this tape so special? The only way that anyone could have achieved this tape in their collection was you had to go see Spider God on his debut show in May of 2022 in London. So, I've never seen Spider God live. A lovely gentleman from Sweden who went to the show sold this to me. Massive thank you to him for sending this out to me. I'm a huge Spider God collector. This is a massive item in my collection. It comes on these green glitter shells. Spider God himself has confirmed that these were all hand-dubbed and hand-printed tapes, and it is signed, of course, by G himself. This is probably one of the most prized possessions in my Spider God collection, because not everybody has one of these tapes. And you're about to find out in value, because again, I'm the only one who has purchased one of these. The median and highest, as well as what I paid for it, is $54. Which, admittedly, based on how rare this particular tape is, seems like a fair value to me. Not gonna lie. I know these tapes are going to be worth a lot more. Spider God is just getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. So, might as well have one in my collection. So, the number one most expensive tape in my collection is Spider God Black Extensions, the very first press. And that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. I hope you're doing well out there. Stay safe, stay metal, and I will see you next time.